You know, it's not often you hear about a country that's exceeding expectations.
All right.
Like seriously exceeding them.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what we're seeing in Guyana.
Really interesting stuff happening over there.
Today, we're going to take a deep dive into Guyana's 2025 budget and their progress so far.
I've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. We're looking at an article from Guyana News Update. The title kind of says it all. Government surpasses manifesto promises, budget 2025 to drive continued national progress.
It's definitely ambitious.
For sure. And they seem to be backing it up.
Yeah, from what I've seen, the numbers are pretty impressive.
Exactly. We're talking big investments in things like education, and they've doubled pensions.
Right.
There's a huge housing boom happening.
Wow.
It's painting a very, optimistic picture for Guyana's future.
Yeah, well-deserved optimism, maybe.
So let's get into it. The article starts by highlighting just how much the government is exceeding those initial promises. A great example is education. They've put over $54 billion into educational infrastructure.
Wow.
$54 billion. That's translated into something like 34 new or expanded schools.
And that's on top of maintaining the existing ones.
Hundreds of existing schools.
Gotcha.
But, it's not all just about the buildings themselves. It's about the people. The budget has a huge focus on directly improving people's lives.
Okay, I like that.
So pensioners, for example, they're seeing their monthly payments double to $41,000. That's a huge increase.
Huge.
And then on top of that, they've removed VAT on utilities and added other subsidies. So some families are actually getting almost $100,000 in monthly relief. That's got to make a real difference in people's daily lives.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's interesting, though. It's interesting how these initiatives all tie together.
Oh, yeah. Explain that.
So, the increase in education spending, it's obviously good for the people right now, but it's also super strategic. It's about the future, equipping people for this, modern economy.
Investing in the workforce.
Exactly. And the financial relief, the pensions, the utilities, all of that. That's a safety net, especially now when things globally are,
certain.
Totally. It makes sure people have at least a basic standard of living.
One thing that really jumped out at me in this article was the emphasis on housing. They're on track to provide over 50,000 house lots this year.
I saw that.
Way more than they initially planned.
Ambitious.
Yeah. So, exceeding a goal like that, it's got to have some serious long-term implications.
Right. Well, there are definitely a lot of positives.
Like what?
Well, for starters, think about things like homelessness.
Yeah.
Having more affordable housing available can really help alleviate that.
And it probably helps keep costs down, right? Just overall.
Yeah, exactly. More supply, less demand. And then, of course, there's the economic side.
Right. All those construction jobs.
Exactly. So many industries benefit, but there are challenges too.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
It's a lot of development very quickly. So they have to make sure things like infrastructure and essential services keep pace.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, there's the environmental impact to think about.
Sustainability.
Exactly. Making sure this growth doesn't come at the cost of, the environment.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just about housing either, right?
Right.
They're also really trying to diversify the economy beyond oil.
Important.
Because obviously, oil isn't going to last forever.
Right.
The article talks about how they've seen this unprecedented growth in their non-oil GDP.
That's great. And it makes them more attractive to foreign investors, too.
Oh, for sure.
It's a good sign.
They've also implemented a bunch of measures to help the private sector.
Like what?
Well, the article says these measures have saved the private sector over $100 billion annually.
Wow, that's huge. What kinds of opportunities does that create? What does this diversification actually mean for Guyana's economy in the long run?
That's a great question. What do you think?
Well, like we said, oil is unpredictable. This makes them less reliant on that.
It's less vulnerable to price swings and all of that.
Exactly. It also opens up a whole bunch of new possibilities.
Like what kinds of things are you seeing?
Well, there's a lot of interest from tech startups, for example, especially in the renewable energy sector.
Interesting.
Which, could position Guyana as a leader in sustainable development.
That's a good point. So really kind of turning a potential problem into a strength.
Exactly. It's a smart move.
One thing that really struck me was a quote from President Ali.
Okay.
He talks about their people-oriented strategy and how they're focused on, and I'm quoting here, improving the conditions of people, the life of people, the conditions of communities, empowering people.
It's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
But it's important to, look beyond just the words.
What do you mean?
Well, we have to see how these changes actually play out, especially for, vulnerable communities.
Ensure everyone benefits.
Exactly. And that's where things like accountability and transparency are so important.
Yeah.
Are there systems in place to ensure that these benefits are really reaching everyone?
That's a great point. And it kind of leads into President Ali's other statement.
Which one?
He says, the foundational pillars for this new economy are well in place now. So he seems pretty confident that they're on the right path.
Yeah, he does.
He says that Guyana is on track for both sustainable growth and resilience.
It's certainly an exciting time for Guyana.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they're really exceeding expectations across the board,
Yeah.
setting themselves up for success. But it does raise an important question.
What's that?
What can they do specifically to make sure that all this progress, all this growth actually translates into a better life for every citizen, especially, those who might be at risk of being left behind?
That's the key, isn't it? Making sure the progress is inclusive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's something to keep in mind as we continue to watch Guyana's journey.
Definitely. A lot to be optimistic about, but also important to stay vigilant.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks for having me on to discuss this.
Of course, always a pleasure.
Until next time.
To all our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out the original article from Guyana News Update. We'll be back soon with another deep dive.
See ya.
Bye.
Of Budget 2025. And adjusting the income tax threshold. These are only some of the measures that we implemented. These went to women. ICT liberalization. This would have saved consumers billions of dollars, reducing the cost of data, reducing the cost of capital for ICT businesses, and giving wider access to ICT-related services, data services that are critical in empowering especially what the investment has brought us. Look at the dotted line. The infant mortality rate per 1,000 we have made. Between 2020 and 2024, we've invested more than $113 billion in public security. Several projects we've invested in. We have built 23 new police stations, 14 buildings that are now strategic police outposts. We have been able to, when they doubted that we can get the financing for the gas to shore project, security, we can now look at public debt. This is another indicator. People will say, oh, you're borrowing so much, but look at our public debt indicators. We have a decline in our debt to GDP ratio, a decline in our debt to GDP ratio. We have improved fiscal position regionally. We have greater debt service capability now. And of course, to service our debt. In their homes, more people are going for loans. The cost, the interest on loans has declined substantially. All of that is linked to the policies and the framework of these budgets that we have passed. If you look at the financing of the budget, what that speaks about? Investors' confidence. Investment. How the quality of people's life is improving as a result of the investment. Let us look at 2025 and beyond. In the people of our country, to make them more skilled, give them better levels of education, so the earning potential, the earning power is also enhanced. These are the things that we are doing as a government, that Budget 2025 continues to build on as we expand the economy of our country. So, I just wanted to spend some time this evening going through some of these with you so that, of course, you can understand how Budget 2025 and all that we've been doing over the years is directly related to the improvement in your quality of life. Thank you.